I look at lots of things and see where they start and the end, and you can go in with it's what stays through is the interesting thing whenever you do a project, don't you think?
And season 2 started with all the work and research we had already done.
And already language study
and provided them with everything. And season 2 is taking that, extending that, and I'm sure it's going to be magnificent.
First off, I really enjoyed the first season of Rings of Power. I cannot wait for season 2. My first question is for you, Kate. There is a wealth of source material, but this is a largely original story. So how does that affect your research process when you're dealing with a new character, a new location, something that you haven't seen done before? How much do you take from the visual aesthetics of what you've already seen versus what you've read?
I always start with the source material, and I always start with, and in that case, it's all the books that we know, which is the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, and Lord of the Rings. And so I always try to base myself. I mean, there are many discussions even through the process where we didn't have access to the entirety of scripts and that, and being geeks, we go, well, are these the blue wizards or not? Or there was endless, but you have to come back and go, well, this is the language of Tolkien, and we really felt we done our homework on that, both through his writing and how he depicts his characters and the cultures within them, and how their arc moves from the 3 ages excuse me, so that when we had a new character in that, we could actually reference back into it. Wasn't always easy because they don't come with their little
histories.
Right. But we would make them, and we did this even for Elrond. When we look at a character we do know and love, but we haven't seen him in this age before, he's not the man we see 6,000 years later in Rivendell, but that love of other cultures and his exploring that and history was there in his clothing, there in his herald cloak, and the scroll that he has at his side, that all came from the world of Gondolin and that. So we tried to use resources where we knew to help support any characters, whether they're new or old. But it was a challenge, and then you sort of hope that if they fit within the elements of the world that you're creating, it comes together. It's part of a normal process anyway, that you can come in with your ideas and then the actor will bring them, the showrunners will have their thoughts. So it's always a journey done with many others.
I just would like to add that Kate's research was like none other. There was a room filled with not only with drawings of the characters in their clothes, but there was smells and jewels and
we did
oh, wow.
Yeah, we do tables of because often some of our actors would come in and they hadn't read the script or weren't privy to a lot of it, so we had each culture and world, and we did this in conjunction with other departments so that we could all see each other's language as it was coming together. But Ron's right, we had for each culture we had materials and jewels and things, as well as the drawings, and we had it was almost sort of like
it was a museum.
Yeah. But we also had words. There's one of my favorite lines from the Silmarillion that describes his hero covered in the dust of diamonds as he's climbing the mountain, Elrond's father. And you sort of go, he's actually talking about snow and ice, but that became an image for the Northern Wastes, for Galadriel and her crew there. And literally you go, okay, so chainmail is a big part of the language, and there's an opportunity to create chainmail never again on a small, well, it was a lot of work, with a small team of characters, but also when you read the Silmarillion, you understand, all the jewels and the stars and all this language he's constantly using. We used opportunities to bring in that world from Arda and all of that world from here, and use his abstract and more, the language of nature as our source for everything.
And we took those words in creating the cliffside, so that the ice was diamond-like and the snow sparkled in that particular way. So it was a continued dance between all of us to interpret and understand.
And her brooch and that, had the big pearl and that, and all of that came from, we referenced some of the Celtic histories and all of that, but also looked at, a lot of Alan's drawings made that way into guards and things like that. We used all of those references really to whatever felt right.
Ron, for you, like you just mentioned, the diamonds, which is so cool. Was there any addition that you had or VFX set piece that you did that changed the most or was most uniquely inspired in the research when you're looking at Tolkien's work or when you're having these back and forth conversations with creative team?
It's a really interesting question. So we didn't create anything from whole cloth. We did not say, we didn't come in with a preconceived notion. We went to the text, went to the canon, and then worked with Kate and Ramsey. And from there, we wanted everything to reflect nature. We wanted it to appear real. We wanted nothing to be phony, baloney, a CG, nothing. So if we had the scene Kate was referring to, the cliff climb, we literally went out and found an ice wall in nature. We helicoptered in. We dropped on lines, went in and took photographs of all of that, did photogrammetry. That became the source, the root to what we then created. We went to real rivers and real waterfalls to create that waterfall, took pictures.
Linden was a great example of that, though. We were talking about the gold leaves on the trees, and we used that in the robes of Galadriel. So it's sort of like the the golden age of elves, and it was sort of creeping up her robe. So it was an example of feeding that through production design and then through visual effects. Really?
So we created a forest that had a golden feel to it, a cathedral like J.R.R., the director, wanted it. He kept showing us pictures of cathedrals. And so we made a forest that looked almost had a religious soaring quality to it. And that was
wow.
So nothing was like, oh yeah, something cool. It wasn't ever that.
Trees had changed a lot during that journey. I remember at one point they were more like the sort of redwoods and things. And then we came to the other trees because
we looked at real forests and then said,
oh my goodness,
never create anything as cool as what we want, as unique and as storytelling and nuanced. So
I love that, because that also, it kind of brings me to my next question, in that obviously the diversity of the series on screen has been spoken of plenty, but the world of Tolkien is also very diverse. You're going from the Southlands to Lindor to, everywhere in one season, and it has to all be unified, but also individual different cultures. How do you guys kind of balance those two?
It's quite a big thing.
So each culture actually had its own unique flavor, tone, color palette, completely different color palette.
Materiality.
The way we photographed it was different. Every single thing was, every culture was unique in terms of the relationships and how it related to the world.
Season 2, I have heard, is going, like they said, they're going to put more money on screen. What does that mean for you guys? What do you get to play with this time around?
No, we're not in season 2, but I'd love to.
No.
More money on screen, always good. Always good. Those things, it's always a journey. I look at lots of things and see where they start and the end, and you can go in with it's what stays through is the interesting thing whenever you do a project, don't you think?
And season 2 started with all the work and research we had already done. And already
language studies
and provided them with everything. And season 2 is taking that, extending that. And I'm sure it's going to be magnificent.
Over the course of season 1, was there a character for each of you, or a location, or anything that was most challenging, or that you were then at the end proudest of having accomplished or gotten your vision?
May I say, I think one that linked us all, which was interesting, was Adar in that way, with the relationship to orcs and aesthetics and makeup. Because actually Ron and his team here were amazing. Never been on a production where visual effects are involved in the creature world so much. So we were, I think, where our links happened with dwarves and orcs, and that Adar was probably the interesting crossover point there. And how the others.
He is a fantastic character.
He is amazing. He is very powerful.
Every and I don't mean to give a pat answer, but every single one had challenges. I would say. Because nothing exists we are creating a world that is fantastical, yet has to relate and be relatable. The challenge is to make all of it plausible and all of it feel organic and not something that is just magic for magic's sake, that there really be a logic between all of it. So it was the collaboration between all of us that created this world in a organic whole, a unique, connected world.
I love that. Thank you both so much. You did a great job on season 1. Everyone looked beautiful. Good job. Thank you. Have a great day.